And welcome to week 3 of Art 160. I wanted to go over some of the questions that I've received from students and see if I can help clear up some things that the rest of you might have questions about. First off, let's go into my announcement for week 2, and please note right here, 4 steps to manual mode. Everyone needs to download this PDF. And the reason is because once you go into, let's go right here. All right, using manual photo capture, you're going to notice that it's telling you if you are shooting on a sunny day, use this aperture. If you're shooting on a cloudy day, use this aperture. This is all fine and dandy, but if you're taking photos and they're coming out way too bright or way too dark, I don't care about these numbers anymore. I'm not going to look at your photos in Flickr, and if you have a perfectly exposed photo that has great light, I'm not going to say, you know, this is a perfectly exposed photo, but she did not stay in the guidelines of this F8 and F11, so I'm going to take points off. No way. You are going to get a good grade based off of your exposures and the technical aspects of your photos. So if you are not using this guideline because for you in your location this is not correct, then that's fine. Because if you're in Hawaii, for instance, and it is very, very, very bright, and you are not shooting in shade, you might need to even go up to F16 or higher. And then if you're shooting in the shade, you might even have to go down to F5.6, even if it's a very bright sunny day. If your camera, if your sensor happens to have a little bit of shade on it, then it's going to change what f-stop you need. So don't follow this as much as you follow that 4 steps to manual mode guide that I gave you. I want you to print it out, keep it in your camera bag, and refer to it often. Okay, so now let's go back out here. This is kind of how the week goes. I've changed this. It used to say due date 1, due date 2, due date 3. I changed it because it already says the due date. So there's really no point in having the due date and have it say due date number 1. You're like, what is due date number 1? I better go look it up. You don't need to look it up. It's right there. Basically, all you need to remember is beginning of week, middle of week, end of week. And it's going to say it so you don't have to worry about it. Okay, so using manual mode. Every Saturday, you are going to post your photos. You take 30 to 50 images every week. You upload 5 of them to Flickr. On Saturday, you are posting in the discussion boards. You are commenting on each of those photos and including a link to Flickr. Flickr is only to show the photos. It's so that I can see your camera settings. It is not meant to comment on, it's not meant to leave feedback on, none of that. Because in the grading software, it does not show me anything you put in Flickr. It shows me whether or not you uploaded to Flickr, but that's it. So please do not leave any of your comments in Flickr. Keep the discussion in the discussion boards. Okay, so then next Thursday, or this Thursday, you're going to look at all that feedback that you received from your peers throughout this week, and you're going to make some changes. Based on what you read, they might say, this photo is really dark, this photo is really blurry. Whatever they're saying, you're going to take that and you're going to make changes to your photos. And what you do is you're not editing them for this assignment. In the future, all future assignments, you can edit them or reshoot them, or both. But for this one, all you can do is reshoot, because in this assignment, you are not supposed to edit them. So after you reshoot, then you just re-upload them to the exact same Flickr album. And then you delete the ones, or hide them or whatever, the ones that you're not going to use, okay? And then once you have reshot them and you've put them in, then you turn in your final submission photos. and then I'll grade those final submission photos based off of the changes that you made. So let's talk about critique. In those peer reviews, I expect you to leave critique. I want you to remember this always. Critique without kindness is cruelty, okay? I expect you to critique your peers, but I expect you to do it with kindness. It's impossible to be a good photographer if you are not willing to look at your photos and say, this would have made it better. It's a huge part of becoming the best photographer that you can to be able to look at something and say, I should have changed this, or if I had changed that, or whatever. But it's comparing your own photo to your own photo, not comparing your work to other people's work, okay? Basically, every semester I'll see some comments that go like this in the peer reviews. Your photos are swell, the best I've seen. Obviously, you're not using the word swell, but they're fantastic, but you're not giving any critique. It is not helpful to just tell somebody that they did fantastic, especially if the photo is slightly out of focus. If the photo is slightly out of focus, that is not a fantastic image. You need to be able to say, your photo is slightly out of focus. This is how you could improve this image. Your shutter speed is too slow. You are shooting at at shutter speed 1/30th of a second. 1/30th of a second is too slow while holding the camera in your hand. You would have to use a tripod using these settings to capture this photo if you did not want it to be blurry, okay? Obviously, you might not even know enough about photography yet to give that type of critique. So in that instance, you can just use how you feel. When I look at this image, I feel like the focal point is off. Right now, the focal point is on a leaf, but my eye wants to be drawn to the trunk of this tree. And I feel that way because the leaf is such a small area of focus that it almost makes the entire image look out of focus because the leaf is so small. So maybe saying how you feel about the photo is how you can critique it. I don't just want you to say, great photo, good job. That's not what I'm looking for. And if you are not willing to look at your peer reviews and make changes, I can guarantee that you are not going to have a very fun time in this class. Because you need to be willing to look at that and make changes. And you can always make changes. Some people worry, can I retake these photos? Heck yes, you can. Retake the photos and resubmit them, re-upload them into Flickr and turn those in. That's fine. You are learning. If you are not making changes, I feel like all you're doing is going through the motions and not really reading your peer reviews. So anyway, that's all for this week. I really want you guys to go into the announcements and leave me feedback. Ask questions in there, because I guarantee if you have a question, other people have a question too. Next week looks a little dicey because of this replicate assignment right there. So please check the announcement for next week, and I will explain what this is so you're not getting all worried. So anyway, thanks again, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the semester.